Hey security peeps, it's Renee Small here at the fabulous Breaking Into Cybersecurity podcast webinar series. I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Chris Foulon. Chris, say hi to the peeps.
Hey, everyone.
And the awesome, amazing, wonderful Alex Price of Jazz Networks. Say hi to everyone, Alex.
Howdy, security peeps.
Yes. So we are super excited to have Alex here. Alex is the man about town with the fabulous events in the DC metro area, and he probably will take those on the road, I don't know, but we're getting spoiled out here in DC with Alex and Jazz Networks and all that good stuff. So I will just jump right in and have Alex introduce himself, share what made you break into security. I heard a little bit earlier about you doing this from way back in high school. So talk to us about what made you break into the field.
Breaking into cybersecurity. So it's kind of a fun little history. I actually mapped it out here just so I could follow all the steps in my mind along today. So just a little bit about me. I'm just turned 38 last week actually, and I've been in IT pretty much since I got out of college, which was around 2004, because it took me a little bit longer as I'm going to go through the route that I got here. But you know, it's been a ton of fun kind of learning about IT and cybersecurity over the years. You know, dating all the way back to when I was a small child. I loved engineering and Legos and building things, and we had computers at a very early on stage in my family. You know, I think the one of the guiding lights in my life has been my mother, and so my mother's been a huge impact on me in my IT life and career, and so as kind of examples of that. When I was about 15, 16, my parents got divorced. And so my mother raised my family basically by herself at that point. I went off to college when I was 18, 19 years old. I had 3 sisters. I never really had, you know, brothers or anything like that. So what did I do? I went and joined a fraternity immediately, you know, blow off some steam first. The tenure at VCU down in Richmond, Virginia was short but fun. And I was having way too much fun down there. Really kind of wasting away, but having, you know, good life experiences, good bonding and things like that. And then, you know, when my time came to an end, my mother literally grabbed me by the ear and dragged me back home, because she knew that if I continued on living down there, I might not turn into, you know, the IT professional that I am today. So again, because she came in and kind of steered me in the right direction, I then went to Nova, right, and kind of got my the associate's degree there, and then transferred over to George Mason. And by the time I went to George Mason, I was having a ton of fun actually taking classes that I was interested in, the business, the finance, you know, the accounting, the marketing, business management, and stuff like that. And came out of George Mason when I was about, I guess, 23 or 24. And I had a couple of interviews right out of the gates, right? So the first 2 were Calusa Investments, for anybody that knows, lives in the DC area, in 2005 to 2007. There was a big mortgage refinancing kind of thing was going on back then. So I went to Calusa. Somebody asked me to sell them a pen. I unsatisfactorily did that, so I did not get a job doing mortgage refinancing. I then got an interview at Aaron Rents Furniture, and I also apparently could not sell furniture because I did not get a job there. But then I was very lucky to be part of the very first inside sales team at a company called VSGI in Tyson's Corner. And so for the next 12 years, I kind of stayed in the collaboration space. And so VSGI, I was there for about a year and a half. I was selling a lot of technology via a company called Tamberg, which is out of Norway. Really, really bright engineers, really awesome technology. And so essentially I got kind of recruited away from VSGI. Although the kind of fun part of that story is that I closed on a townhouse, and because Tamberg wouldn't interview me because I was at a partner of theirs, I had to quit my job before I could even go and interview at Tamberg. So the day after I closed on a small townhouse that I was sharing with 2 other bachelors, I went in and turned my 2 weeks notice in, and my boss said, "Are you insane? We know everybody just celebrated you buying a house yesterday." And I said, "You know, I've got to do this thing because I have kind of some career goals in mind." And 2.5 weeks later, after I was able to do so, I went and actually drove down to Richmond, Virginia, to go to an airport to interview for my first job with a gentleman named Dave Rumler, who has also been a huge impact on my life. So spent a few years at Tamberg, about 3 years, had a lot of fun getting to know kind of the DC market, working on the commercial side of sales. Tamberg got acquired by Cisco. So I went from a, probably 200 person company at PSGI to Tamberg, which is about 1,400, to all of a sudden being part of a company that was 65,000, right? I was like, wow, massive, massive company. So, had a lot of fun there. Met some really awesome people. And it was kind of funny because some rumors started circulating that the band might be getting back together. And so a lot of the old kind of Tamberg engineers and some of the top people in the UK and in Oslo decided to start. There's quite a few companies that came out of it, but the one that I was interested in was a company called Econo. So 3 years into my Cisco career, I went over to Econo. We were selling collaboration solutions, kind of the universal translator of sorts of UC bridges. And then we were developing something that ended up become the Cisco Spark board / WebEx board. And we had a ton of fun. Ground floor, we had no sales when I started. One of the first 3 people here in the US doing sales and marketing and channels and everything, which is a lot of fun when you get to carry a lot of hats, but it's a lot of work, a lot of roller coaster, ups and downs when it comes to that. And 3 years after Econo launched, we got acquired by Cisco again. So now I'm back at Cisco for the second time, working with a lot of the same people, great organization, super fun. I'm running all over the US because they had me in charge of a new product launch. And, I start hearing rumors that, some of these same geniuses and the same executive talent and, a lot of the team that I've known for 12 years at that point is now looking at a new industry, right, altogether. And they want to take some of the talent and some of the new innovative ideas that they've done to disrupt things in the past over to Jazz Networks. And so I guess maybe 2 years into the second time at Cisco, I jumped to come over here to Jazz Networks and go into cybersecurity, which, so I've been doing it for about 1.5 years now. It's been super fun for me. When I kind of looked at my career, I wanted to have, I had a kind of a 10, 12-year chunk in collaboration, right? And then I want to set my sights on the next 10 years of what Alex Price wants to do. And so cybersecurity seemed like an excellent field to do, obviously up and coming, a growing market, it's saturated with a lot of vendors, right? But there's, I think opportunity there to grow a big company and for me personally, just to learn a whole new field. So it's been really kind of fun doing that for the last 18 months. So that's kind of how I got to Jazz.
Think you can end up back at Cisco?
What's that?
Are you going to end up back at Cisco?
I don't know where we go. I think that the management team here is acquisition averse, right? And we get this, everybody asks me that question, right? And so, we've done it a few times before now. And I think that the idea of what we're trying to build at Jazz is actually bigger than just cybersecurity. And we're working on some things that actually bring physical security into the cyber world, because we think that if you're ever really going to, kind of focus on the human element of cyber, which is what we do, you need to understand where people physically are, right? And then where they actually are on the, electronic devices and on the network and stuff like that too. So, yeah.
How is a conversion from collaboration to cybersecurity?
It's a learning experience. And so it's funny, the reason I know the two of you, right, is that I just suck down information, and I'm pretty, vocal out on the internet when it comes to LinkedIn and Twitter. And it's almost, I would actually say it probably is an addiction, where before I, really get out of bed, and the last thing I do is I go and I just read as much as I possibly can. And so, I've been kind of sucking from the fire hose as much as possible. And I think, when you go into meetings and kind of have to be in front of people presenting on these topics, right, you very quickly learn that if you're not well prepared for it, it's not going to be a very fun meeting and opportunity to go and talk to people. So you want to improve yourself, right? And it drives you to learn even more. And, it's a little bit of trial by fire, but I feel like I'm way further ahead now than I was in the past. And I did have a little bit of security. At Cisco, I was selling a lot of the stuff they had. So network, firewalls, security, collaboration solutions, Wi-Fi, all that stuff. So I did have a little bit of background, but this is really the first time I've been all in. So
how do you, outside of drinking from the fire hose, do you have specific resources? Do you have specific things that you do that someone from a sales background like yourself might be looking to catch up to speed, and your recommendations for them?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the stuff that you can find on LinkedIn and Twitter, right, where the different groups and meetup groups and things like that. There's, it's amazing being in the DC area, because I think we have an advantage over anybody else in the country, really, because there's so much cybersecurity talent here. There's always something going on. So I like the meetup groups. I like the things like B-Sides, right? I've been out to RSA. I didn't get to go to Black Hat this year, or Hacker Summer Camp, as they call it. So next year I have my eyes on it, and being there next year. But I think just getting out and meeting people and talking to people is a huge part of this too, right? And so if you kind of think as a salesperson, 12 years in the same industry, I had this great network of kind of UC focused, collaboration focused people, and now you go into cyber, and there's definitely some friends that have helped me along the way, and organizations that have welcomed me back in. For a lot of it, I've still had to kind of build this entire new network, right, and get to know people very, very quickly if I want to be, effective at what I do. So.
I want to make the point that you talked about having the experience that you have and how it's translated over, because especially people who are mid-career, they tend to always try to look at breaking into cyber from going all the way back down to zero, right? So you had this 10 to 12 year career in collaboration. You built this amazing network so that when it was time, when you came over from the first company, you went to Cisco, left, came back again, like people, you obviously had a reputation of doing a great job because they kept wanting to bring you back and join those teams, right? So, a couple things come to mind when I talk to people, because from a career coaching standpoint and a recruiting standpoint, people always ask these types of things. They ask about certifications. They ask about, they want to throw away the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. They want to throw everything that they have away and then start at the bottom. And so it's so refreshing to hear from people like you and some of the other folks that we've had on, who've taken the experience that they've had, the networks that they've had, broken into security that way, didn't have to take 17 steps down, salary cut in half and all that to break into the industry. So I just want to highlight that, because people tend to, they ask like, okay, what certification should I get and what should I do now? And, I'm already a director over here, I'm making all this, I'm doing all this thing. And like, you can transition. You might take one step back, but you don't have to go all the way to like network A+ certifications, like all the way down the rabbit hole. So just want to.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun. So, I mean, one of the first things I did when I first started here too was just get an understanding of who I knew that was in cybersecurity. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of those network people, even some of the UC people that had transitioned, around the same kind of timelines as I had, or maybe a few years before then, right? And, it can definitely be done, right? And I think you got to take your steps into it. And obviously, if you are sucking down that information, right, and you can go in and articulate, a lot of the kind of basic concepts, you're going to get the opportunity. So, yeah.
And I would also have to say that you have those similar auxiliary support industries for cybersecurity like you do for the other industries, and sales is one of them. So having that sales background automatically gives you a leg up for going into cybersecurity sales. Now you just need to brush up on the technical knowledge, or drink from the fire hose for the technical knowledge to get yourself there to where you're comfortable. So for someone coming from the UC environment, how much time do you think it took you to where you're comfortable talking to the same caliber of individuals that you were at the UC level?
They call it fake it till you make it. Is that the thing? I mean, I'm still learning, right? And there's going to be opportunities, right, that I'm not going to know what they're asking about, or how to address it, right? And I think, something that's served me ever since I worked at VSGI, 13, 14 years ago, is that if you don't know the answer, don't make up an answer, right? So let me get back to you on this particular scenario. I need to understand a little bit better. I'm going to have an engineer take a look at it, and we'll give you the right answer. It may take a little bit longer than just, kind of a snap response, but people respect that, right? And I think they understand if you are kind of transitioning over, if you're a younger person like me. I'm only 38, so don't have 30 years of IT experience. They'd rather get the right answer than make you say something incorrect and make a mistake later on. So, yeah, and I'm lucky. I also should give a shout out. I have I work with an engineer named Ron Coe, who used to run he was the director of IT at a really large law firm, which is when I first met him at Tamberg. And so he has kind of a very diverse skill set, kind of having to understand everything. And so he's been with me since Econo, directly working with me. And, if I can't answer the question, which, I'm the glamorous salesperson, right? Ron is always right there, and, kind of carries a lot of the conversation in a very thought out and deliberate manner. So, yeah.
So when you talked about going back to school, so BCU, then back to Nova, have you done any formal, like with that drinking from the fire hose aspect, has there been any formal education that you had to take any certifications, anything like that? Or has it just been mostly research and online and self-directed?
I wish I could say I have some certs, and I'm sure it's something that I'll tackle as soon as I get kind of out of this crazy right at the beginning of the startup phase. But really, just because I'm so kind of immersed in it, and I'm going to these conferences all the time, and at the conferences there's a lot of downtime, at least for the kind of the partner vendors and the salespeople like me. There's a lot of opportunity on those downtimes when the sessions are in session to go into the session, sit in the back of the room, and hear some amazing people speak, right? And you're getting, you're paid to go to these things. Don't just tap away in the back of the room and be on your computer not learning. Use that as an opportunity. I mean, I've seen the CIO of the entire Defense Department come up and speak with all of the generals that run all the various Air Force, Marines, and all those people. How often would I get to see and hear them? If they're there, let's learn. So.
I think that's a valuable point, to take advantage of the opportunities that you have. All too often, I think people get caught up in the day-to-day, and they don't get to step back and realize where they are and take advantage of that. For example, I know a lot of people that go to summer camp, but they're so involved in running the show that they don't step away and go take advantage of the individuals that are there, the network that they have that's there, to learn from them and grow from them when they have time.
Yeah, use the opportunity.
From a growing and mentor perspective, you mentioned that you had a lot of people that were in the UC space, as well as a lot of others. How valuable do you think that was in your transition and your growing?
I think there was quite a few people at Cisco that I met. I just saw one last night, a gentleman named Nick Hoffman, right, who had transitioned also into cybersecurity. And so really the first 2 or 3 weeks, right, I didn't want to go in and call all my top old customers, right, and go and see them, right, until I knew what I was talking about. But it was friends and family time, right? Let me go present this. What are the holes in the solution? What are the holes in the pitch? How do you think I can refine this better? And so I did a whole lot of that. Ron will laugh, but I mean, we were meeting in coffee shops. I did a presentation in somebody's living room while the kids were walking by, or at bars, any opportunity I could to kind of go and kind of, better the pitch, as it were, right, and get a better understanding of cybersecurity I was doing. And so there's a lot of people that were super helpful to me in those early stages, right? And, again, hotbed of cybersecurity, it's amazing how many people that I've known through the years, just literally neighbors 3 doors down, who, would invite me in to kind of get an understanding of what we do and how they can help. So
I just want to, again, talk about the network, because you keep bringing it up, and people, they go outside, they look all over the place, to Chris's point, and then your network is right there in front of you. You may have people that are either in the industry, in parallel industries, like one step away, not 6 degrees away of separation. It's like 1 degree away of separation.
Yeah,
could be a way to break in. And so we always kind of like go back to, okay, utilizing your network, getting to the people that are closest to you, either on Facebook or in school, or neighbors physically close to you, and utilizing that network. And then you also talked about the meetups and all the other places that you would go, that you were physically meeting with people in person, so people who either knew you or new connections that you were making, and interacting with, and perfecting your pitch and perfecting your craft, and learning how to get in front of people. One of the challenges I did this is August, so in the beginning of July, I started this 31 and 31 challenge, and I wanted people to do a little selfie video of themselves to promote themselves, so I can help promote them with my network, Chris's network, all of our networks, see if they can get opportunities. And one of the biggest struggles, and it was a lot of US people, international people were sending me videos like crazy. And, I want to help international folks too, but our network is mostly US. So we're trying to help the US folks. And everyone was like so nervous to get up there and for 1 minute talk about why they would be a good fit for a company.
Yeah.
So, you talking about, you bring up such a good point. Like, you're a seasoned salesperson, you've done this for 12 years. And you still, because it was a new industry, something new, had to get out in front of people and practice and hone what you needed to say, poke holes in it, hone it, practice it a bunch of times before you felt comfortable. And so it's just another lesson. It's another piece of a nugget that for folks who are looking to break in, I forget the young lady that was on the show who talked about she did like 35 interviews. And by the time she got to the one where she said I was cool as a cucumber, why was she cool as a cucumber? She practiced 35 times. She knows every question. She knows and she's heard it all already, So it's just another point when we talk about breaking in. These are the challenges that people face, and some of the things that we continue to get. Chris and I consistently are still getting. We've almost been at a year in this doing these webinars and podcast series, and we still get these same types of questions, and people are just so nervous and scared. And so, what would you? This is what you've been doing. So, what kind of advice would you give them, folks that are like struggling to?
I think I think one of the things that I was ahead of the curve a little bit, but now I'm kind of along with the wave, I guess. Is that in 2006 or 2007 we had like a sales training where they said, there's this platform LinkedIn that you can connect with people, right? And you don't even necessarily need to live in the same area, but you can message. It gives you updates. It's like Facebook for LinkedIn, right? And I already really like Facebook, so so I started doing that, and once you get past the scary, part of sending the connection request, and are they really going to like me? Is this person going to do that? For the most part, people are going to accept it, right? And so by the time I got to Jazz, it was very simple for me to understand who my network, who that I knew, was in cybersecurity, because I just typed in cybersecurity first series of connections, and I had literally probably 125 contacts, at least. That I just then went through and said, would you mind if I practice with you? Can you see this pitch? Can I get your advice on this? Right. And there's so many people that'll be, open to doing stuff like that for you. And, it's something that's now helped me my entire career. Right. Because it's, everybody's kind of going in different directions. And I saw somebody, actually, I think the CISO of Bank of America posted something that I just read yesterday, where it's his, corporate address book, right, for his interactions with the business world. It's the fastest way for me to find somebody and has expertise in any real area.
So that's the practicing, but how would you give recommendations for them to develop their elevator pitch, their narrative of their career and where they want to go? Because I think that's what a lot of people are lacking. They don't know how to create that elevator pitch and that narrative of their career.
Well, that's what I do this morning. I think we've all got to be storytellers in one way or another, right? And people enjoy hearing a story, especially if you're able to mix in a little bit of humor and self-deprecation. And, it's life, right? Everybody lives these lives, and we just all need to relate to each other in one way, shape or form. And, plot it out like I did today, so that I had an understanding of where I wanted to go. Because in the heat of it, right, you might not remember every step unless it is kind of already plotted out. So, prior planning prevents piss poor performance, right? At least a little bit of it. So,
good point. Yeah. Well, Chris, I know you typically ask that last question, which I think I took a little bit of it away, but go for it, because we're
that's fine. So in addition to what you've covered today, is if you had to give one piece of sage advice to the fellow sales professional following your journey into cybersecurity, what would that be?
Ask for help. Probably it, because I think most people give it if you just ask very nicely, right? And to the people that are out there, you can find me on LinkedIn, Alex Price. You can find me on Twitter, Alex@Jazz. I'm always looking to help people that need help. There was a gentleman that came to our we did a brewery event at Solace Brewery, awesome brewery in Sterling, Virginia. And there's a gentleman who actually is trying to get he's moving from being a Fairfax County public schools teacher, and now is trying to break in cybersecurity. And so I told him, hey, come to this event. There's going to be a bunch of IT and cybersecurity leaders there. I'll introduce you to other folks that are here. I don't want anything out of that. I just want to, somebody who's going to be moving forward in his life potentially. And they look back and I was a part of it. That's awesome. So.
Wait, you were in Sterling? When was this?
I was right around the corner. Yeah.
Missing out. I got to make sure I pay attention to those Alex Price emails more frequently.
That's a great brewery. I got to go to one of the events.
You were there?
No, last winter I went there.
Chris on the VIP list. He shows up.
What's up with that? Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on, telling your story. I know we've been trying to get you on here for a long time. Like I said before, you're doing some amazing things at Jazz Networks, and we know we will have you on again. And thank you so much for sharing with everyone how you broke into cyber.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's I appreciate it because you guys, both of you didn't know me, a year ago, and it's been fun getting to know you from afar and meet you in person here and there. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.